Welcome along to episode 830 of the Milk Bar. Jason Forrest here with you as ever. And coming up on the show this week, Red Dwarf's Robert Llewelyn will be along. We'll be talking a bit about Red Dwarf, but also about EV charging with the team at Eon. Next, we'll be catching up with Little Women's Catherine Chalk. She is the rep this week, playing Beth. Also on the way at the rep, Spitfire Girls. We'll be catching up with Kirsty Cox to find out about that show. Alt Blk Era will be along. They are National Lottery game changers with Arts Council funding. They have sort of made an absolutely massive impact, and we'll be talking about how we want face-to-face conversations as well as doing stuff online. Plus, we'll also be talking to Karen Tyrrell, CEO of DrinkAware, as we find out about the work they're doing with Andy's Man Club to help people keep their drinking in check. That's all on the way on the show this week.
Welcome to the Milk Bar. 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 Welcome to the Milk Bar.
At the Birmingham Rep from the 20th of May, Little Women has a limited run. Catherine Chalk is playing Beth in the show and joins me now to tell me about the production. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
All good here. Now, it runs through to the 24th of May, so it's one to get in there quick to get along to see. And this is obviously all based on a book. One I have to admit, I ashamedly have never read, but is a staple in schools across the UK.
Absolutely. Well, you definitely should read it. I read it just for this job. I hadn't read it beforehand, and it's so wonderful and has so much in it that you can't get into any adaptations. So I do recommend.
Louisa May Alcott is behind the story, and this was inspired by her experiences growing up. And it is literally one of the best loved novels of all time. And from the sense of things, once you've read it, you adore the characters, the people, and the way in which the situation is explained. And the world of sisterhood, courage, and ambition. That's just the starting point, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think all of the sisters have such a distinct voice, and I think it's so beloved because everyone can find part of themselves or see themselves in one or more of these sisters, and they all have these like vividly different journeys, but they're all kind of as important as each other. And I think all the different routes that you can take in life are really explored and valued in this story.
And a journey into womanhood, but a journey in a slightly different time to our own.
Yes, I mean, obviously it's set in the 1850s, 1860s, but there's so much that feels as relevant today as it was when it was written, about sort of women trying to find their voices, being taken seriously. Especially with everything that's happening in the world at the moment, a lot of that seems to be under threat at the moment. So to have a story that does go into all of that, but also explores it with such joy and laughter and heart feels really important at the moment.
I mean, being in a time now, we shouldn't see any parallels between day-to-day life and this book. In theory, you would hope. It should only be some of the smaller moments of positivity and the togetherness, which is actually runs alongside women's experience today. As you said, that's not the case, but this is interesting to see that when times were possibly harder, I'm not saying it's easy now, but when times were possibly harder, women hadn't even got the vote at this point. We would still, see such elation at times here, and the fact that even in spite of the world and the way it treats women here, they are able to get on top. They're able to be the people they deserve to be, and that again it's heartwarming in its own way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you put it brilliantly, and I think it really celebrates the resilience of women in particular, the sort of the characters, and you see it in so many different ways and all the different generations of women in this show as well, which I think is really interesting. You have the Aunt March character played by Belinda Lang, who's very much in touch with the tradition of things and doing things by the book and trying to get by as best you can, marrying well, which some of the characters in the story can look down on, but actually it comes from this place of great practicality and understanding of the world that she's in. And then you have the Marmee character, who's this kind of pillar of strength and kindness and home. And then obviously you have all four girls who are so free spirited in their different ways. And I think that's one of the things I love about this adaptation in particular, is that you really get to see all those different generations of women and how they've all kind of helped one another become more free as we go through time. And I think a lot of people can relate to that with their parents, their mothers, their grandmothers, their sisters, um, just in guiding each other forward and hopefully making it better for the next generation than it was for the previous.
And again, that's what we hope and strive for in this day and age too. The fact that
Yeah.
we look to people to inspire and then move forward. Although role models have changed significantly since this time, so it's interesting to see how our role models might be more locally based, whereas these days people look up to stars of X Factor and beyond. But actually, you in this time, your role model structure is very different, probably in some ways more wholesome, but equally with various layers that you don't necessarily always see from the surface.
Yeah, I think that's such an interesting point. And I guess a lot of it comes from, um, you know, pre-technology, people didn't have all this contact to all these different people across the world, or these, interacting with strangers, as it were. You had your family and you had your friends and the people around you, which I think is still very true of today. But yeah, it is interesting to see how role models change and what becomes important or less important as time goes by. And I think this story definitely celebrates the role model of family and sisterhood and female friendship, as even outside of family. I think
Mhm.
these girls, they're friends with one another and they want to see each other win. And it's lovely to have a story that kind of brings that back, and you get to see that close to home and can remind us of all the brilliant women and people and loved ones that we have in our lives outside of social media and the sort of strange world that we live in now.
And Louisa May Alcott's world would have been one where men would have been behaving in a way which we would now class as misogynistic, yet was pretty much standard back then. And you got the title Little Women. It has that sort of connotation to it as well. When if you look at it from, it could be seen in a negative way rather than the positive, actually, which is these girls growing into womanhood.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, again, one of the sad parallels is that we do still face a lot of misogyny, more so in sort of the past 5 years, I feel, than in you know, since my childhood. Um, so yeah, it's in a way I found it not refreshing, but it's just very interesting to be able to see all of the parallels and kind of experience these women's struggles and link them to some that we still face today and see how they overcome it and how they deal with it. And I suppose back then it was faced with a lot more just acceptance of this is how things are and you can't change it. But then you also have the character of Jo, who very, very much fights back against that and says, she's so aware of it and says lines in the show like, if I were a boy, I could do all of these things. I could study, I could go and fight. And I think it's a great reminder for us nowadays, for the audiences watching, of yes, we live in difficult times, but there's always been difficult times, especially for women, and we just have to keep fighting against it and pushing back and not letting people say, you know, what you can and cannot do. Um, so in that way, I think the show is a lovely reminder for us to keep fighting.
Absolutely. Keep fighting and be inspired by the characters that are part of this show. As I say, it runs from the
Mm.
20th of May through to the 24th, Tuesday through Saturday. Birmingham-rep.co.uk to get your tickets. You can get them through the box office by giving that a call too. But I think this is, it sounds like an amazing telling of the story and a glorious look on stage as well. Is it completely immerses you in there in the time?
We do our best. We do our best. I think the set is beautiful, and all of the creators have done such a fantastic job on this show. So I think anyone that comes to see will hopefully be transported along with us.
Well, we'll send you back to a time gone by, yet still inspiring and running parallels to the world we live in today. Catherine Chalk, Beth in Little Women, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Research from DrinkAware, working alongside Andy's Man Club, is telling us that there are many people who are drinking more than they should do in excess of the standard guidelines, which allows for low risk drinking. To tell us more, I'm joined now by CEO of DrinkAware, Karen Tyrrell. Good afternoon.
Hello there.
Now, when it comes down to enjoying a drink, when done socially and in limited volumes, and yes, some 14 units a week, we know we're in a low risk zone where alcohol can be enjoyed by most people safely. However, when we are looking at a higher amount of consumption and people using alcohol to take away their problems they face on a day-to-day basis, this is where we start to see issues.
Exactly right. And we have done some research that shows that something like 58% of men who are between 45 and 64 years old feel like the people their age group are actually drinking to cope. And so that is something that we want to open up conversations about, basically. So we've worked alongside Andy's Man Club, and we've got our campaign launch today where we're encouraging people just to talk a bit more about their relationship with alcohol and to recognise that much as we are learning to talk more openly about our relationship in terms of mental health, we would like to see some of those conversations open up in terms of our relationship with alcohol as well.
Because overconsumption is often seen as a bit of a laddish thing to do. It's almost been encouraged in some older age groups as being, the way that you do things. And, a swift half is fine, but actually when you're talking several pints or maybe drinking spirits and wine as a way of numbing the issues that you're having on a day-to-day basis, this is where it starts to hit you hard physically. And of course, that ends up with a further problem on the mental health side of things too.
Exactly right. So alcohol can cause mental health issues, and equally having mental health issues can mean that people turn to drink. So it's a complex relationship, but actually what was important is recognizing what the motivation is about why you might be drinking and thinking about how much you actually are drinking. So what the chief medical officer recommends is that you drink no more than 14 units in a week, and that is around 6 pints of beer or 6 medium glasses of wine, and you should have several days in the week where you don't drink at all. Now, for lots of people, that's exactly what they do, and that's great. But there can be times in life where the pressures of the modern world can get on top of you, and you might find that you're drinking a bit more than that. So at that point, we would be saying, check your drinking from time to time. Come and do a quick check on our website. And try and find some ways to cut down. So that might involve things like planning in advance if you know you're going out. It might be setting yourself some limits, choosing some days in the week where you're not going to drink at all, or it might be swapping out to some low or no alcohol products as a way to still feel part of the conversation and the crowd, but be cutting back on the number of units that you're having in an individual week.
Yeah, because it's all about the units, and with so many good 0% products out there at the moment, it's all very low percentage products. It doesn't have to be just shandy making you a slightly sickly lager these days. It is something you can still enjoy and have a drink that, and if you're drinking for the taste, actually, that you're doing all right so far. But the problem we're having here is people aren't talking about their problems. They're using alcohol to take those problems away, and this is where groups like Andy's Man Club, we've recently had one open in Wolverhampton, and each Monday evening down at the Science Park, they get together, they sit, they talk, and this helps people through the sort of things that are surrounding them and adding pressure to their life. And it could be they need to sit down and talk about the alcohol they're consuming. That could be what is concerning them, but actually it could be concerns around work, family life, and other things, which having that conversation could start to get them leveled up in their head on what they need to be doing, maybe conversations they need to have outside the group as well, and just spurring people on to talk can make a huge difference. It could be through that conversation they may go to talk about the problem and then realize actually their drinking is becoming a dependency now, and they may not even have clicked to them before.
Exactly, and I think that demonstrates the power of conversation, really, and to move some of these conversations out into the open. So to be okay talking about alcohol and the part it plays in your life. Is it there, and is it doing you good service? Is it helping you? Is it making your life better? Or has it actually tipped over into a space where it's making things more challenging for you? Are you not following through with family commitments that you may have set? Are you struggling to sleep at night? Are you waking up and feeling slightly the worse for wear one day more often than you might want? There are a number of signals and signs that maybe your alcohol use is getting a little bit outside of your control. And what we would be saying is open up and start talking about that. Use the different types of services, the mental health services and the alcohol services that are available across the country. And do go along if you are worried and talk to somebody like Andy's Man Club, or if you think your problem is more severe, of course, get in touch with your GP.
Mm-hmm. As part of this campaign as well, Chris Kamara has actually put a video out talking around his issues, and you can see that online too, can't you?
Yes, you can, and it's really great to have people like Cami really talking about why it's so important to talk about your feelings, make that connection with other people, because as we've said, about 60% of people are recognizing that other people are drinking to cope. So this is not an unusual thing that is happening in our society. The more opportunity we've got to talk about things openly, the easier it will be for you or friends or family or those around you to ask for a bit more help and support, and then to take some relatively simple and easy steps just to cut back on how much you're consuming.
Yeah, we've talked around some of those 5 tips. I mean, getting to know your limits, setting your goals, asking for support. Yeah, switching to alcohol-free drinks is another brilliant way of doing it. And so you can still appear to be enjoying a pint, or at least actually enjoying a pint, which is, as I know, alcohol. But then don't give up as well. I mean, celebrate your achievements as well. Find a new little treat that'll help you out too.
Exactly right. And I think noticing some of the small wins can make a really big difference. So it might be that just having a single day when you don't drink at all is a huge step. So celebrate that step. And then also think really carefully about small behavioral changes you can make. So, simple things like choose to have less alcohol in the home, don't have it at eye line in the fridge, for example. There are really simple things that you can do that might reduce the chance of you choosing to have a drink on an individual day.
So check out all the details. Where do we find that drink checker? And of course, all the rest of the advice online.
So please do come along to the DrinkAware website, which is drinkaware.co.uk, or you can go and have a look on Andy's Man Club to find a local group near you.
Absolutely. I know we have Wolverhampton and we have Stafford too. And Wolverhampton is Monday evenings, 7 through 9. And you get a cup of tea and a biscuit. What's more to yeah, and a great conversation. It all sounds good to me.
Absolutely.
Karen Tyrrell, CEO of DrinkAware, thank you for joining us.
No problem. Nice to meet you.
Now, Gen Z are looking at rejecting toxic online spaces for real life role models. Two real life role models are sisters Nairobi and Chaya, who have been making music together for the last 5 years. How are we doing, girls? You good?
We're good, thank you. How are you doing?
All good here. So tell us a bit about how your two-piece rock band came about.
Oh, so it was during the pandemic. There was a whole lot of nothing to do. And our mum kind of gave us a challenge, knowing that we loved music, to try and, take it seriously and do some research about the actual industry and see if we can release our first single. And then we did in 2022, February. And then from then, it went so well in the first few months. And luckily for us, she believed in us at the ages of 15 and 18, that we could make a career out of this. And then we just kept going. So that was our first taste of the industry.
But in itself, though, a bit of a challenge, particularly for Nairobi, with the chronic fatigue syndrome that you suffer.
Yes, it was really, really difficult. And we have to make sure that loads of precautions. So making sure I'm not doing too much energy wise. So with our tour in particular, jumping to the future. So we just came off our debut tour, which was incredible, but I'm not able to perform back to back show wise. So we were able to take gaps in between. So I need my therapy. I need time to rest in between because I have chronic pain and chronic tiredness. So we did 2 shows, a gap, 2 shows, another 2 days gaps and breaks and stuff. And I think financially, it's not usually possible for a band of our size.
Yeah.
We did get funding for it. We got the Arts Council National Lottery Project grant for it. So that's kind of how, with my disability, we've been able to launch our first ever UK tour successfully at that.
Which is absolutely brilliant. I mean, Cheo, what's it like being out on the road then on this? Because I know you're pretty much always looking out for your sister, aren't you? Even though you don't admit to it very often, you know you're really keeping an eye on her.
Yeah, it's just, I feel like being on the road is very fun. Our tour was our first well, we did our what's it called, install, but that's different. But the April tour, it was really fun, and it wasn't too bad, was it, in terms of disability wise?
No, well, it's because I have it's so much more than just like Alt Blk Era and Arabian Chase. We have a whole team doing everything else, so I can't carry boxes of merch. So the band were doing things like that, so we were able to pull in other sources of muscle.
But I mean, this is where teamwork does come in. And real life is so much better because, I mean, this is the research that we've seen from the National Lottery here is showing that, we want to get away from just living online. Even when you have got a condition which can be debilitating, I remember the 23 hours you found yourself having the need to sleep for in the past. You've worked through that through determination, wanting to be part of this, through support, help, and funding to allow this to happen. And actually, you're really reaping the benefits and showing what other people can do as a complete game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that people really are like, well, on one side, people don't value getting funding enough, but on the other hand, people don't know it exists, because for us to achieve everything that we have at this age, it wouldn't have been possible without funding. And it just shows that if you support young people, it's not because a lot of people think that age equals talent and with experience, but I think we've kind of proven that young people can be successful as long as you give them a chance.
It's getting that raw talent focused, isn't it? And actually letting people realise this opportunity out there. And as a generation of game changers, the National Lottery, you're helping with funding here. I mean, how did you first learn that there was cash to help you sort of show off the talents that you have and develop a skill set off the back of your own work?
So it was during 2021 when my illness was kind of at its worst. My mum found this songwriting course. It was run by Inspire Youth Arts, which is also funded by Arts Council. And I went on every Tuesday for an hour, and I just remember being in so much pain, being so tired. I was like, Mum, no, let me sleep. I'll go on next week. I'm too tired. And she was like, no, Nairobi, you love music. Get up right now. It's just an hour. And then I'd sleep the whole week. But then on Tuesday, for that 1 hour, I'd get up. So music really gave me a reason to live, if that makes sense, because it was still during COVID time. So it was really scary just going out of the house. So I didn't have much of a social life as well with my disability. So the world just kind of crumbled. But music really brought me back into the real world. So I'm really grateful for that.
And you can't get more real world than a gig out and about touring the UK and making sure that those interactions are real. This is meaningful stuff. Well, not only for you to producing the music, not only the Alt Blk Era name that's now out there that people know, and you can see that. It's even better when it's on merch, but also the fact that you're getting a true interaction from the audience and feedback, which is so positive.
Yeah, I think so. When I didn't tell anyone about my disability for the first 2 years of our music career, because I didn't want people to think that we got any handouts or give them this because she's disabled, or I didn't want people to scrutinize our hard work or think that we couldn't do a really incredible high energy live show, because I have chronic fatigue syndrome. So we did the big shows, we gave the full energy, and then we were like, oh, and by the way, I also have this, but don't treat me any differently because we've been fine these past 2 years, if that makes sense. Yeah,
but if it is just a feature of you, but it's getting people to the point at which they realise that's just part of you. And you don't alter your lifestyle any more than you need to. Yes, you've got to take it into account. As a family and as a unit, you work on making sure you get the best out of what you do, but you adapt. And it's that adaptability which I think is more important than anything else. And the fact that you're showing off to people, yes, you can adapt. You may have to find a different way of doing things to what the mainstream is, but who wants to be mainstream anyway?
I think it's been really, really exciting to see, because even so on one hand seeing disabled people being like, I feel so empowered seeing you with your walking stick, and now I feel that I can go out and about with my walking stick, which is amazing to hear, knowing that, because growing up, being like a 16, 17-year-old, I was really frightened to go out with a walking stick or a Zimmer frame or my wheelchair. I was like, what are people going to think when they see a teenager in a wheelchair, you know? But having so many people message me privately or see me at shows and be like, I bought my walking stick today because I felt comfortable to bring it here. Like that, you know, just little moments like that really just have such a deep impact on why we're making music, why we are sharing this kind of story, but also how we're kind of like normalizing disability for the people that aren't disabled or aren't necessarily even alternative that listen to our music, but they just like the vibes. Getting used to seeing a disabled person on stage and them raving in mosh pits down the bottom without it being like so solely focused about my disability. Like I have a personality outside of my disability. I'm still a human being with, you know, all the emotions. So to have people see me as more than my disability and have a great time as well has been amazing.
Yeah, well, your chronic fatigue syndrome is something which actually is probably focused and allowed you to be more of who you are and more of the person we see than you probably would have done if it hadn't been there. So whilst, yes, in an ideal world, nobody would have these differences which move them away from what we consider standard, but actually it's part of building that strength, that power, and that presence that you have on stage when you perform.
Yeah, exactly. And there's one thing my aunt always used to say is that I was sleeping so much, but it was like fueling my creativity. So like when I was awake, that's how I was writing these amazing songs, and that's how I was doing these amazing shows, because I was like charging basically. So she put it like that, which I loved.
Yeah, well, that sounds absolutely brilliant. So, okay, well, first of all, where do we find out all about your music?
Everywhere, you know, Spotify, YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram. We're actually starting up a book club as well. We are able to release our first ever book about the album, about my disability and our story, and that's also through the Arts Council National Lottery funding as well. So we've got to share a lot more intimate on who we are as people, what our journey means to us, and I think what it means to like the community that we've built up around us. So look out for the book club. We're starting that soon.
Yeah, that'll be on our Discord.
Yeah.
So we're searching for Alt Blk Era, ALTBLKERA, if you're looking for that there. So not only can we find out about your music there, but we can also find out about all the National Lottery game changers by giving that a bit of a search. Give it a Google, and you can see more of the amazing people like our performers here who will be showing off their talents, developing skills, and helping through funding that comes from the Arts Council to really demonstrate the brilliance of what we can do. Yes, online, but also most importantly that face-to-face connection that we all really enjoy. Nairobi and Nichaya, Alt Blk Era, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Kicked out of the party, chased out of the lobby. Think I heard somebody, and they said run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, 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 rabbit, run, rabbit, run, 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 rabbit, run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, 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 rabbit, run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, 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 rabbit, run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run. Kicked out of the party, chased out of the lobby. Think I heard somebody, and they said run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Someone's pulling me. Haven't had to run a mile since I was 17. Haven't had to drop the crowd cause I was never seen. Haven't had to tell myself that you're a fever dream. Cause you said to me, do you wanna fall? Hold my hand. Why'd you wanna talk? Just run fast. Don't you know it's all in your hands? Now you wanna crawl out my past. Kicked out of the party, chased out of the lobby. Think I heard somebody, and they said run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Rabbit, run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Rabbit, run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Rabbit, run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run. Kicked out of the party, chased out of the lobby. Think I heard somebody, and they said run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. lobby. Think I heard somebody. And they said, run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, 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 rabbit, run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, 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 rabbit, run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, 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 rabbit, run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run. Kicked out of the party. Chased out of the lobby. Think I heard somebody. And they said, run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Run, run, run. Run, run, run. Run, run, run. Run, 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 rabbit.
Spitfire Girls is at the Rep in Birmingham from the 16th through to the 21st of June, inspired by the extraordinary true stories of women who dared to fly during World War II. To tell us more, I'm joined now by Kirsty Cox. Good afternoon.
Hello. Hi.
How you doing?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good too, thank you. So tell us a bit about this
Yeah.
production and your part in it, please.
Spitfire Girls is an amazing new play, and it's sort of heralding the fabulous and just phenomenal bravery and work that the women of the Air Transport Auxiliary did during World War II. It's sort of telling the story of these women, and they ferried aircraft around the country during World War II to kind of keep things moving. So they ferried the airplanes from the factories to the sort of air bases. And I play two different characters in the play. I play the commanding officer of the airbase, and then also one of the pilots called Joy. So yeah.
Yeah, and they weren't flying into conflict in most cases, were they?
No, they weren't flying into conflict, but they flew in very difficult and very challenging conditions. So they weren't able to fly with any instruments or any navigation. So they sort of had to look at maps beforehand and then sort of fly by looking for landmarks on the ground. So they had to fly below the clouds, and they had to avoid barrage balloons. They really did fly in very challenging conditions. And although they didn't fly into conflict, several of the Air Transport Auxiliary which also included men who weren't able to be conscripted, they did lose their lives during the war due to the work that they were doing. It was phenomenal work.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, you've got a situation whereby the Luftwaffe could have been heading your way anyway, so you were never sure whether or not you were going to be safe in the air.
Exactly. I mean, and the other phenomenal thing was that they would, after their training, their initial training, they would fly any sort of aircraft. So they flew up about 140 different types of planes, and often they wouldn't, they'd just be given some basic information before they got in. They had a ferry pilot's handbook that was like a little blue book, and it had the sort of basics about what was different for each plane. But they would get in a plane and just fly it straight away, having not been trained in that aircraft particularly. So they were flying, most of the people who flew into battle, they were only flying one particular aircraft, but the ATA flew everything. So they were flying Wellington bombers, they flew Spitfires, they flew Hurricanes, they flew Seafires, Swordfish, everything.
And where were they flying from? Because is it what is now Birmingham International Airport?
Well, they were flying from different air bases, so I'm not sure what the nearest one would have been for Birmingham. But they the base the story that we tell is called Hamble, which is near to Southampton, which was an all-female air base. So there were bases all around the country, up in Scotland, in Northern Ireland, and all over. So there would have been one near to Birmingham, but there was one particular one that was all female, which was down in Hamble. So that's where our pilots in this story are based.
And this is obviously an important story to remember. Obviously, this is a fictionalized version of it, but based on true life. But also, I mean, the fun and the camaraderie that's part of this is very much a reflection of what would have got people through these darkest of times.
Absolutely, and I think that comes through so well in this play is the camaraderie and the bond between these women. So the story of the play starts with two women who'd been based at Hamble during the war being reunited, and then kind of we go back in time and sort of see their relationship they obviously had huge adventures, as well as it being, I'm sure terrifying at times and hugely hard work. They also, talked about how fabulous it was to fly and to be given this opportunity because of the war, because women weren't given that opportunity before to fly aircraft like that. And the other amazing thing was that during the war, they were given equal pay as the men. It was, so they had this huge opportunity to kind of have equality for that time, which was phenomenal. And then we just sort of, it's so important to herald these stories, and yet then it seems like after that we went backwards a bit, but we're kind of getting back there again now.
Working on it. I mean, the thing is, we're still not quite there. That's the scary part, isn't it? In conflict, when they're doing a difficult and desperately important job.
Absolutely. And it's been so wonderful, especially this last week recently when we were having the sort of this extra celebrations for the 80th anniversary of VE Day. That's been so special to be able to tell this story. And it happens so often at the theatres as we tour around the country, of people coming up to us afterwards and saying, I had no idea that these women did this. And there's so many untold stories during the war. And if we can just sort of highlight them and tell their, the amazing bravery that these women and the other members of the air transport auxiliary had, it's a very special thing to do. I feel very honoured to be able to do it.
And bringing to life these characters, it's an honour for us to know that this is going on, see it on stage, and realise that it is part of what is an amazing history of this nation, and that so many have given so much to get us to where we are today and beyond. So it is important these stories are recognised, which is absolutely fantastic. The box office is 012-1236-4455, Birmingham-Rep.co.uk to grab your tickets that way, and of course it was nip in and pick them up over the counter if you wanted to. But certainly this is a story which is absolutely worth telling, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I mean, there's a lot of laughter, there's a lot of emotions in the play, and there's amazing moments of sort of flight, beautiful music, projections. It's a real, as well as being an amazing story, it's a beautiful theatrical production. So
well, it's all set around New Year's Eve in 1959 as they get back together to reminisce about their time in the air and playing joy. That sort of things. I'm sure that there will be a bit of a lift, won't it, for you? I think as well, and just be able to share a glimpse into these lives must be amazing.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And yeah, there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of banter in the scenes between the sort of the pilots. And then I also get to play the commanding officer who's sort of in charge of all these women. And it's a real privilege to tell their story and to kind of herald the work that they did.
Well, break a leg. Have a brilliant time with the show. It is at the Rep in Birmingham from the 16th to the 21st of June. Kirsty Cox, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Now, when it comes to the cost of driving an EV, refuelling could be just £2.70, less than a latte to charge your vehicle overnight. To tell us more about how we can keep our costs down by doing so, I'm joined now by Robert Llewelyn, who, of course, you'll know from Red Dwarf, Scrap and Heap Challenge, all those other things that he does, and also by Jean Coleman, Director of Commercial at E.ON Next. Good afternoon to you both.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, first of all, Robert, when it comes to EVs, you've been a long-time user, whether it was the old Prius back in the day when you were hybrid or when you go full EV in this day and age. It's a great way to get about, and, of course, we know that if we're buying a new car, this can be one of the best ways of doing it to protect our planet.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the overall impact is hugely reduced. I mean, anything the human race do, has an impact. Everything that we use has to be dug up or grown. But certainly an electric car minimises a lot of those impacts.
And when we're putting less carbon into the atmosphere, and in particular less pollution at the point of use, which is a hugely important part of this, it really does help us from everything from asthma through to the greenhouse gases.
Absolutely. I mean, if you have the luck of going to cities where the vast majority of the transport is electric, Oslo, Shanghai, Beijing are three examples. I mean, where really there's very, very few combustion vehicles. The atmosphere, the air you breathe, it is genuinely extraordinary. And actually, even in London, we've had a massive improvement in air quality, greatly down to taxis, buses and delivery vans being electric. And it really has made a difference. London doesn't smell as bad as it used to.
And when you're looking at that, obviously there's a cost to it as well from a financial point of view. And people very often think that the cost of using their home electricity to charge one of these cars can be big. But that's not necessarily the case, is it, Jane?
No, it's not. It's really interesting. We did some research, and the average driving Brit thinks EV charging at home is 10 times pricier than it could be. We have an Eon Next Drive tariff, which actually is only £2.70 for someone to charge their car overnight.
And if you look at that compared to refueling to do, say, 300-400 miles, which is what you'll get out of your EV these days, you're actually a significant cost saving, and you're not charging every night anyway. That's, I think, another great myth, isn't it?
That's right, absolutely. On average, a UK driver spend about £48 on petrol, so that's a huge saving compared to that. And I think over 3/4 of us, really are worrying about the rising cost in fuel costs. So this is a win-win for everyone.
And when it comes to your experience, Mr. Llewelyn, when it's you're out and about in an EV, it is more convenient these days. Yes, we can charge when we're out and about in more places than ever. But overall, this fretting about how far you're going to be able to drive and where your next drop of electricity is coming from is nothing like the reality compared to how some people feel about it.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, it's understandable if you've never driven one. You think, oh my God, it's like my phone. It's just going to run out in the middle of the night on the side of the road, and I'll be in tears and there'll be nothing I can do. And I mean, it isn't like that. I mean, I have made my car run out once deliberately. I was filming it, and it was the most boring day's filming I've ever had. It took so long to do, and I had warnings for the last 25 miles of this thing beeping and flashing at me. It doesn't, you have to really be determined to run out. But I think when you first drive one, you'll have range anxiety because you've been told you'll have range anxiety, and you do the very first time you drive an electric car. But after that, you don't even think about it. It's just not an issue. And I think the way to think about it is you charge the car while you're not using it. That's the key important thing. For the vast majority of the time, that's what you do. So exactly that, you're not using it because you're asleep. So you plug it in at home and it charges overnight, and when you wake up, it's full and you have to do nothing, so you're not spending time going specifically to a fueling station like we've all grown up doing, so that the mentality of not worrying about charging it, but charging it while you're not using it is the critically important change.
And of course, Gene, you put it on charge overnight, you get a tariff which suits that as well. That's where your cost savings come in, because obviously fewer people are using electricity in such volume overnight, so there are cost savings to be had. But topping it up doesn't cost you any more than it would do if you were charging it from almost empty.
That's right. The Eon Next Drive tariff offers a fixed price, which means that's 12 months your prices won't change. And you're right, there's greener, cheaper energy overnight. So if you plug your car between midnight and 7 a.m, it's as cheap as 6.7p per kilowatt. And you wake up in the morning and your charge of your car will cost £2.70.
And I think the bonus is the fact your whole house is on that tariff overnight. You can charge your phone at the same price.
Absolutely. And you know what? Like I do, stick the dishwasher on, the washing machine, the tumble dryer. Absolutely. All sort of those heavy usage machines in the house can go on at night for this cheap rate as well.
And would you be charging Kryten overnight as well, Robert?
I would definitely. I mean, Kryten would have to be. He loves the word tariff, and he loves an off-peak tariff. Yes, like the Eon Next tariff is a very, very good. He would love that. I'm not doing the voice because I find it really hard when I haven't got a rubber head on.
But obviously would be there, ready for that and up for it. So that's all good. So how do we get onto this tariff, Gene? Come on, give us all the details. What can we do if we're buying an EV?
If you want to visit eonnext.com, there's lots more information on there about the EV tariff.
And Robert, what is going on with Red Dwarf at the moment?
I mean, there's not a great deal going on right now. There are plans afoot for some stuff in the future. I don't know. We never know. Honestly, the cast are always the last people to know. So we're all in touch all the time. And if there's a rumour, we're all chatting with each other. But at the moment, I'm not booked to do any new Red Dwarf at the moment. We're all getting very old to get covered in silly costumes.
Yeah, and you get the worst of that. Obviously, you and Danny actually suffer the most from that, don't you? It's all right.
There was a time when my makeup was like 10 times longer. It's a bit like charging electric cars. It was about 10 times longer than anyone else in the cast. Now it's kind of leveled out. There's a lot of hair pieces, wigs, a lot of makeup for the poor old fellas. So yeah, we're on we've got a level playing field in terms of makeup time now.
It's not just sticking a letter H to Chris's head anymore. He's got.
Oh my God, no! He has to have his whole head rebuilt every morning.
All good fun. Let's enjoy what we can as we reminisce about Red Dwarf for now, and think towards the future of an EV and doing it cost effectively. For now, Robert Llewelyn, Kryten from Red Dwarf, and advocate of EVs and everything. You just do too much. And Jean Coleman, director of commercial at Eon Next. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. Back with episode 831 next week. I'll see you then. Ta-ra for now.
Goodbye from the milk bar. 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 Yeah. Goodbye from the milk bar.